Hello! In this video I'm going to share 5 common symptoms of driving anxiety that people who have a fear of driving always think are unique to them, but they're not. I'm also going to share 2 ways that you can fix the problem and give you a bonus way you can overcome your fear for free. My name's Paul and I work online with people all over the world to help them overcome their fear of driving, and the reason I'm making this video is so many people come to me convinced that they are the only person in the world who's got these symptoms, and they think that they're weird and there's something really strange and they've got some huge problem that can never be overcome. Well, let's get straight into the symptoms, and if you've got a fear of driving, you might recognise some of these things. The first one is many people who come to me say they have a fear and a panic attack when they're sitting waiting in a queue of cars at a stoplight or a red light, depending on what you call them, wherever you are in the world. This is especially true when you're waiting to turn across traffic. So here in the UK, you'd be waiting to turn right across oncoming traffic. I work with many people in America who say that they're waiting to turn left across traffic, and as soon as the light goes green, they feel fine, but when it's on red, the pressure is on, and they feel like everyone's watching them and all eyes are on them. Some of you will be thinking that I'm psychic, because I have had people who've said to me, wow, you must be psychic. That's exactly what I'm thinking. No, I don't have any special powers at all. I'm not psychic. It's just because I work with so many people who have this problem that I hear it over and over again. So if you've got that, don't worry, it's very common. And let me move on to point number 2 now. The second thing that many people have in common when they have a fear of driving, and this is one you maybe haven't even realised. Do you have a fear of speaking in public? If you have ever had a fear where you don't like standing up and doing public speaking in front of groups of people, maybe at school or at work, you don't like giving presentations, and you don't like that kind of thing at all, well, that's very common. Very, very often people who come to me with driving anxiety have that problem. And you may have heard me say in other videos how driving anxiety has nothing to do with driving. Well, what you need to realise is that all of these things can be linked together. So you see, your fear of public speaking is the same thing that's causing your fear of driving. So when people come to me and they work with me and overcome their problem, this is what I mean by you don't just get rid of your driving problem. In many ways, your driving anxiety can often be the last thing to go. Sometimes people say, it's weird, I worked with you and I still can't drive yet, but my public speaking's got much better. Well, that's because we're not working on the driving. Driving anxiety is just a symptom of another problem, and it will show up in other areas of your life, such as, this is number 3, waiting in a queue at shops. Have you ever found that when you're queuing in shops and you're in a long line of people, you feel panicked? I've had times where clients of mine have said, if there's more than 5 or 6 people in front of me, I just have to put my basket down and run out the shop screaming, because I get this horrible feeling of panic attacks coming on and it just feels terrible. And talking of that, let's move on to number 4. Another common one that many people with a fear of driving have trouble with is roller coasters. Yeah, now some of you will be thinking, wow, I've got all of these. I've got this thing about waiting in a queue of cars, speaking in public, waiting in a queue at shops, and roller coasters. I've never liked them. I just hate that feeling of being out of control, and I hate going on the loop, and I hate being trapped and feel all closed in. Well, this just proves that I work with so many people who have the same problem, and you're not on your own. Okay, a lot of help can be found by realising that you're not alone. Thousands of people across the world have this problem, and that's why I do what I do. The 5th symptom I'll give you, and this is one that's really going to shock a lot of people, is, did your problem begin around a wedding? Were you going to someone else's wedding and the panic attack driving happened on the way to or from the wedding? That's one that will surprise a lot of people, because you might think back and think, wow, I never even realised. Yeah, it did start around the time of that wedding. So those are 5 common symptoms, things that have happened to people, the times it's begun, the times the problem comes up. And there are others I'm going to in other videos. But let me tell you now the 2 ways that we fix the problem. If you've watched my other videos, which I'll talk about more in a moment, you'll know that it's actually a repressed memory. It's an emotion from the past which is trapped and needs releasing. And for some reason, it's coming out when you drive or when you're in shops or any of those situations I mentioned before. And it seems weird because it actually hasn't got anything to do with that situation. And that's why it can seem so funny. And what you might not realise is although you have a fear of driving, it could have easily become a fear of spiders or a fear of elevators, because when this memory comes up, whatever you're doing at that time becomes your phobia. And this phobia can be anything. I've known people who've had a fear of postboxes, someone who walked past postboxes and would freak out every time they saw a postbox. For some people, it can be a fear of wheelie bins. It can be a fear of police cars, which is nothing to do with the police. It's just whatever you're doing at the time, that kind of latches on to the emotion you're feeling, and it can become a phobia. Now that's one way you can do it, but another way you can fix it is to look for faults in your logic. And I've done another video about logic and anxiety. Sometimes what happens is the memory or the emotion or whatever you want to call it is so long ago that you've actually forgotten it, and even your subconscious mind has in a way forgotten it, and it's just become lost in the mists of time. So if you can't find the memory, what we can do instead is find fault with your logic, and I'll give you an example of this now. I once worked with a client who told me that they hated liars. Quite a common thing again, people say. This often comes up in sessions. People say, I hate liars, I can't stand people who lie. And I asked them the question, well, why are you lying to yourself then? And they stopped and thought for a moment and they said, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean. And I said, well, think about it. You can drive a car, right? You know how to drive, you've got a license, you can drive anywhere. And they said, well, yeah. So why are you lying to yourself if you hate liars? And it took them a moment to get it, but what I was saying to them is, why are you lying to yourself and pretending you can't drive if you hate liars? And that's the loop they were caught in. They hated liars, but they were lying to themselves. And when you highlight that loop, what happens is the loop breaks. And if you've got a fear of driving, you'll no doubt familiar with this loop. You've probably had this thing where you feel like you go around in circles because you want to do it, but you can't do it, but you want to do it, but you hate it, but you love driving, but you hate it. And you go round and round in a loop. And it takes someone from the outside to highlight that loop for you. And then the loop breaks down. It's like the problem is this mysterious thing that you don't understand. But when you highlight it and shine a light on it, it starts to fall apart. And all of the illogical conclusions you've come to will just fall apart. It's like a big rope that's been tied into knots, and you're just undoing the knots one by one, and the rope just opens up. And instead of being this big mess that you don't understand, it's just a nice straight rope. And that's what we're doing in therapy. We're undoing those knots. And the final point for this video, which is the free bonus I mentioned about a way that can help you overcome it, is to watch many of my videos. What people have often said to me in a consultation is, you know, it's weird, after watching a few of your videos, my driving just got better. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's the way you speak, I don't know if it's your voice, I don't know if you've put hidden messages in any of your videos, or there's something like that going on, but for some reason, after I've watched a few of your videos, and then I've watched 5, 10, 20 of them, it just started getting easier and easier. Well, the reason for that is the more you understand the problem, the more you'll start to undo the knots yourself. You've only got this problem because you don't know what it is. So the whole point of therapy is to highlight what it is. Therapy is not this weird thing where you go through these daft procedures people talk about. Close your eyes and imagine yourself walking through a house, and as you open a door, you're transported to a magical land, and this person whispers the solution to your problem in your ear. And people say to me, I never understand that stuff. Well, neither do I. I don't get it at all. It's just people who don't know what they're doing, and they're coming up with these weird, wacky solutions. Whereas what I do is say, look, it's simple. You've got a problem, but you don't know what's causing it. So when you know what's causing it, the problem will go. Think of it like this. Imagine you go along to some paranormal event, some kind of ghost hunting night somewhere, and you hear a spooky noise, this ghostly voice wailing from the wall, and it scares you. And then somebody you're with points out that there's a speaker hidden in the wall, and it's just an MP3 someone's playing through the speaker. What happens to your fear of the ghost when you realise it's just an MP3 playing through a speaker? Well, it goes, because as the saying goes, knowledge is power, and once you understand what your problem is, it will fall apart in the cold light of day, and it will go. So by watching more of my videos and understanding more and more about it, that alone can be enough for some people to overcome their fear of driving. Watch these other videos on the screen now for more help overcoming your fear of driving, and if you'd like to work with me online from anywhere in the world, contact me through my website firstdrive.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.